Today I am bringer of manga, new manga, ones that I think will survive, that I think are pretty good, and I think have a lot of variety. None of these stories are the same as each other, to be expected, but they're all very interesting. Now there's a lot of things on the market currently. It's very overwhelming in a lot of different places, not just like Weekly Shonen Jump, right? Sometimes it's hard to find those stories, sometimes it's hard to read those stories, maybe they're not translated, or you don't really know if they're going to survive or not. That's kind of like the big bad wolf, right? The big scary. I can't promise you that all of these stories will survive, but I am confident at least 2 out of 3 will. Straight down the middle. No spoilers, just vague descriptions, just to tease you, just to dip your toes in the water, get you interested, alright? Hear me out. This first story is called Oversleeping Takahashi, and originally when I read it, I was a little bit bored. I was like, oh, I don't really get the vibe of it, it's pretty standard, pretty basic, but it kind of just slapped me in the face. Only a handful of chapters later, it's like, hey, look, you said I was boring, try this. And just continued from there to back to back to back, provide pretty enjoyable things. And I was like, okay, maybe I was a bit harsh, maybe I was judged a little bit too quickly. Maybe I was just silly about it. You know what? Let me take a step back. Let me give it time to cook. Let me see what it can do, because this story isn't anything crazy. It's not revolutionary. If anything, at the beginning, it kind of stumbles over itself pretty nicely, cutely. But when it starts to roll, when it starts to bring up traction, when it starts to find its footing, I think it's actually kind of nice. I don't want to say there's a charm to it, but maybe it's just the Ishida-like aesthetic that it has going for it. Obviously, I'm a glazer, lover of Sui Ishida, Tokyo Ghoul, Jojen X, you get it. So when I see artwork that is kind of very similar, very reminiscent of Tokyo Ghoul, you best believe I'm already clocked in. That's like half the points right there. I'm on board. Do I think the story is worth your time? Yes. Do I think everyone's gonna love it? No. Do I think it's going to survive and have a very fruitful future? Potentially. If it continues with its recent stuff, exploring the world and opening up a little bit more while keeping its romantic companion relationship interest, maybe there's something really fun here. Let me give you a vague description, right? So there's this boy and he has like superpowers, nothing crazy. He's just like really fast, really strong. He's mortal, so he can get heavily injured and whatnot. And the shtick, the gimmick is that he's always late for school, oversleeping Takahashi. The reason that he's late for school, and no one else knows this, is that he's constantly fighting like these curses and spirits and things that prop up like monsters and whatnot, right? So he's doing his best as like a hero, but he's not recognized as a hero. He's not dressed up. He's just in his school uniform going about doing his day, struggling, trying to survive. Punch Merchant 101 Yuji Itadori type beat. We love him. But someone catches on. This girl who's kind of vaguely interested in him. They spark a bit of a relationship. She was in danger. He saved her. My prince, my shining knight to the rescue. So she's goofy and quirky. And between them, the comedy is actually kind of nice. Like there's some pretty wild curses or spirits, monsters, whatever you want to call them, right? They have like odd personalities. They're not just these harbingers of death. They too are kind of quirky, which is fun. The point of what this boy has to do is go around and defeat these things. That is his job. That is his commitment. And the best part about it, absolute best thing, is that he has this ugly little bird that meows. It talks to him. I don't know why. There's no real explanation for it. You'll have to read it. Honestly, the best character in there. Funny little guy. Good art, good story, good time. It's fun, and I'm excited to see how it expands from here. And hopefully you'll read it too. Mech, Pacific Rim, Gundam. I'm trying to think of mech stories and none are coming in my head. I'm not a big mech connoisseur. I'm not a big mech enjoyer. I kind of actively avoid mechs. Nothing against it. No bigotry here. Something about it just doesn't really sit right with me. I get why people can like it, of course. I guess I just haven't found the right mech story. You know, that might sound like blasphemy, but let me just ask this real quick. Well, it won't take long. What do you consider like a mech story? Because like Evangelion I enjoyed, but is that really about the mechs? I mean, it's got mechs in it, of course, and it's a big part of the story. It's a contributing factor, but I'm not recommending it because of the mechs. You know what I mean? Same with like Code Geass. It's got mechs in it, big contributing factor, but I'm also not recommending it because of the mechs. So for all mech lovers, you're going to love this story. For people that don't like mechs, you're also probably going to like this story because I'm interested in it and I can vouch for the non-mech lovers, okay? Hear me out. So this story is called Hero Organization. Super generic title, right? And I seen it and I was like, oh, ew, that's an interesting title. Why? There was nothing for this, like no marketing, no one talked about it. I didn't see anything pop up prior to its release. It probably just wasn't looking hard enough. And I read it, as I do, first chapter. And I was like, hey, hold on. This is kind of cool. And it's like heavily focused around mechs and everything, right? That's the point. But with the 4 chapters that it has out right now, there's already 2 twists within the story that just catch you off guard completely. I can't tell you those 2 twists. It's something that you have to read because it genuinely amplifies your enjoyment for this story. It's kind of the biggest reason, it is the biggest reason why I got hooked on it. I like the artwork. I think it's very pretty. I like the direction of the story currently. It caught me off guard and it has an interesting perspective on what it wants to do. And then I personally think it just has a ton of potential. So what is it about? This is about an old fella trying to find meaning within his life. And he's taking care of his son, and his son's like this prodigy when it comes to VR, piloting mechs. It's kind of future day. And he sees his son and he wants to provide like a better life. Seeing his son thrive, oddly enough, reminds himself of his own failures, but also his ambitions, what he wanted to do in life, what he wanted to be. So they have mechs in this world, very common. It's a part of their military up in space. And the whole point of them having the mechs in space is that there's these things called star beasts, creatures that come from the stars. Some of these beasts are really strong, very creative. There's no explanation as of yet, obviously very early, why they exist, where do they come from, what's their purpose. So it's up to the military to fight them in these big mechs in space. And our main dude, this old fella, he wants to be one of those pilots. He gets offered an opportunity to go up there and fight. And at first he's a little bit reluctant. He's like, I don't want to do that. I can't leave my son behind. I can't leave him with my very capable sister and extended family that already have kids around his age that are in a much better environment and position. But he does. He wants to show his son that he can be a hero, that he can be someone, something. Thus he gets thrown up into the corporate meat grinder. The twist, I'm not going to spoil it. The twist is really cool though. It's like, this is a pretty standard story. I wonder where it's going to go. Oh, okay. I would have never expected that. That's kind of interesting. And then the second twist, I'm not going to spoil that either, is like, okay. I didn't expect the first one. Definitely didn't expect the second one. Where exactly is this story going? What is the tone of this story? Because I got in there thinking, it's kind of lovey and drawn really pretty and it's a nice vibe to it, a bit mechanical and greasy and I guess militarized. But then it gets kind of dark at certain points and it's like, hold on. I like this. This is an interesting vibe, an interesting momentum that it's got going. And I really, really want to see where it goes. I think a lot of you will really enjoy it. For the mech lovers, for the non-mech lovers, give it a chance. It's like the best of both worlds. I saved the best till last. Harry Potter. Absolute garbage. But seriously, if you have not read Itchy the Witch, please do. Support it, love it, appreciate it, buy it, do whatever you can for it, sacrifice. When I tell you that I love this artist, I don't really know much about the author, but the artist I love, right? She's had a very rough time, and I'm not going to bring up the history just out of respect, but just know that she got dealt a very bad hand. The person that she used to work with, absolute vile garbage human being, eject them into space, bury them under the prison, you name it. But she's back, healthy, happy, thriving, I hope, and with a brand new series, and with someone that hopefully gives her the place to stretch her wings. I don't know much about the author, but I've heard they run another successful manga called Aruma in like a completely different magazine. I'm happy that they're both working together, and I really love Itchy the Witch. Intriguing story, beautiful artwork, I love it, and with the opportunity of a lifetime to become a massive success. Both of these people, author and artist, are successful in their own ways, big names within the industry. Having a fantasy story that focuses around magic that can actually thrive within Weekly Shonen Jump is surprisingly difficult. Now you're probably sitting there rattling off every single magic story to exist, but hear me out. Magic kind of hard to do refreshingly because so many stories do magic. That's logic, right? So tell me why Ichi feels refreshing. Like it has a vibe, an identity behind it, a charm to it, with so much texture that you just can't help but love it. It's a comedy, it's humorous, but then it has this crazy amount of action that's over the top, and then it has this super creative and probably constantly complex ideas and design philosophy for their magical creatures that hold the magic that they wield. So the story, we live in a world where males don't have magic and females do. It's a part of their, I guess what we believe to be so far, biology. Because of this, the women thrive in this magical industry that goes from like a military type beat, going around the world and protecting people, to everyday civilians. But this boy who lives alone on this mountain, doesn't really socialize with people, and is a hunter, suddenly gets magic. I say suddenly, but there's an altercation that happens with another witch that spirals into this chase towards this creature that holds a lot of magic, and this creature is very overpowered, but this boy is able to kill it. And because he's able to kill it, he kind of captures it like a Pokemon, and it becomes part of his magic utensils. He gets a very powerful magic, and he himself becomes a witch. And now his job as one of the first males to have magic is to hunt down these creatures. See, the world operates around these creatures. They represent a lot of different things, not just physical representations, but conceptual, metaphorical, giving things a construct. So some of them are going to be good, some of them are going to be straight evil, and others are going to be kind of in the middle, not really care. It gives a variety and it gives character. All of these creatures have a personality. They have a character behind them that allows you to explore a really good avenue rather than just hunting them down and killing them. I genuinely think this is going to be a huge story for Weekly Shonen Jump because it's got all of the flavors that you would want. So many things are working in this story's favor to be something absolutely huge. Like myself, a lot of you will really enjoy it. So go give it a read. Please, you won't regret it.